Shalom and welcome back to this week's News Bytes. This newsletter is called Truly Me and it's on Luke 24, 36 through 53. I'm just going to read the later half of this newsletter and like usual, I'll put a link below and then you can read the full thing. So I'm going to start right here. Sometimes out of the ordinary things happen that are absolutely true. Perhaps the greatest of these things being the resurrection of Yeshua the Messiah. After he was raised, he appeared to many of his closest friends and relatives, and they were slow to believe what they were seeing right before their eyes. The tomb whom he walked with and ate with on a 7-mile walk from Jerusalem are a good example of this. He was right there and they could not even recognize him. Amazingly, it was unbelief of the scriptures that prevented them from seeing the truth. He said to them, "Foolish men, and slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken." Luke 24:25. It is foolish not to believe the scriptures, just as Yeshua said. Unlike cult leaders like Keith Rainier, Yeshua was absolutely demonstrated by Bible prophecy and science to be whom he claimed to be, the Messiah. Look at this quote. Professor Peter Stoner was chairman of the Departments of Mathematics and Astronomy at Pasadena City College until 1953. And chairman of the Science Division of Westmont College from 1953 to 1957. Stoner calculated the probability of one man fulfilling just 48 of the 300-plus messianic prophecies in the Old Testament. In 1944, he published his research in a paper titled Science Speaks: Scientific Proof of the Accuracy of Prophecy in the Bible. Stoner figured that the odds of one man fulfilling 48 of these prophecies was 1 in 10 to the 157th power. As far as true statistical analysis, the American Scientific Affiliation gave Stoner's work its stamp of approval, saying, "The manuscript for Science Speaks has been carefully reviewed and has been found in general to be dependable and accurate in regard to the scientific material presented. The mathematical analysis included is based upon principles of probability which are thoroughly sound, and Professor Stoner has applied these principles in a proper and convincing way." Multiplying all these probabilities together produces a number rounded off of 1 times 1028. Dividing this number by an estimate of the number of people who have lived since the time of these prophecies, 88 billion, produces a probability of all 8 prophecies being fulfilled accidentally in the life of one person. That probability is 1 in 1017, or 1 in 100 quadrillion. 100 quadrillion. We should never doubt what the prophets have said because Bible prophecy always comes true. Anyone who doesn't believe Bible prophecy is, in Yeshua's words, foolish. Yeshua had to be raised from the dead on the 3rd day because it had been foretold through the mouth of the Bible prophets. He was raised from the dead and appeared to over 500 of his followers before finally ascending into heaven. This sounds like a myth to those who choose not to believe, yet it is as established as fact as any event could possibly be. Of course, the fact that the Messiah was raised from the dead and is alive right now changes everything. I read this newsletter in the beginning of the week, and I tuned into the radio station, and the On the Road Design program was on the same verses as this newsletter. And what kept jumping out at me from listening to the teaching that went along with this newsletter, reading this newsletter, and listening to the radio program that goes along with the Luke 24 verses was unbelief. So I kept asking Yahweh, what do you want me to say about unbelief? And it was either the radio program or the meeting that went along with this newsletter. Eliyahu pointed out that unbelief was an issue with the heart. He says that because in Luke 24, and I have the verse right here, in verse 38, "And he said to them, 'Why are you so troubled, and why do doubts arise in your hearts?'" And that's concerning because they walked with Yeshua. They were there. They saw him perform miracles. They saw him raise people from the dead, heal people, cast out demons, divide fish and loaves of bread to a ton of people. And they still couldn't believe he was raised, even though he said he was going to be, and even though they knew the prophets, and the prophets said that he would be raised. Eliyahu, after that, pointed out that the doubt in their hearts had to be taken care of before their eyes could be opened to understand the scriptures and the prophecies in the scriptures. And so that reminded me of these friends that my mom has at work, who she affectionately calls heathens. They're not bad people, but they don't believe in God. And one of them recently tried to start an argument with her, trying to make her doubt God and God's existence and the scriptures. And what she basically came back with was, I'm not going to argue with you about this because you don't believe in God and I believe in God. And whatever you say isn't going to change what faith I have in God. And nothing I'm going to say is going to change your mind. However, she told me that both of these people used to believe in God and were believers at one point, is what she said. Because they were both raised in homes that, growing up, believed in God. But what their belief in God was going to church and etc. And now they seem to have that unbelief in their heart, and they're kind of aggressive atheists trying to disprove God. And talking with people about that, and me and my mom and me and a couple other people really question whether these people who do stop believing in God, who once did, especially all while growing up, do they really stop believing in God? Or are they just angry or bitter at God? And the thing with these two men was, I know one of them was tired of religion, and most people equate religion with God. And so if they are bitter with religion, they're bitter with God. And that is a problem of the heart, because no one can really talk to them. My mom couldn't talk to them, and she knew that, because they can't be open to the scriptures while they're in that state of unbelief. It's really sad. But he's the only person who can fix that unbelief. And you or I could fall into unbelief as well. Not of him, but of the scriptures and the prophecies, because it's too easy to doubt. But once you start doubting, then if you don't take care of that doubt or the doubts in your mind, they will fester until you have that unbelief in your heart. And then your eyes will close to the scriptures. And then who knows what will happen to you. What I'm saying is, guard your heart, because you can be susceptible to unbelief just like the disciples were, just like so many people who fall away from God are, or end up hating God or against God or wanting to disprove God. I think that's mainly my conclusion is guard your heart, guard your mind, because you can fall into unbelief and you don't want to do that, because that's going to disrupt your walk and your relationship with Yahweh. Not that he can't help you and bring you back. Okay, well, I kind of have a testimony I want to share about doubt, but it's a little embarrassing because I'm embarrassed that I had doubted in the first place, though I'm sure the disciples were also embarrassed. So I'm not going to get into what it was I was doubting, but I'll share. I had some doubts in my mind about God's calling in my life. And every time these doubts came up, I would just stop thinking about it and move on with my day or whatever, go to sleep. I would just push it aside and I would say, well, that is interesting. And these doubts would always come in the forms of questions like, well, is this right? Or, is this wrong? Or what about this? Or, this, and it was always like accusatory at people around me or things I was doing that I was supposed to be doing. Like, are you actually doing the right thing? Or there's something wrong here that doesn't really add up or something. And I would just stop thinking about it because I thought, well, I'll keep that tucked away. I didn't even think about it. I just tucked it away. And that was a big mistake because obviously that's going to fester and that's just doubt. And I was literally doubting God's calling on my life, which was obviously a very bad thing. But it came to a head about a year ago where there was a change in something I was doing. And while I was listening to this change that was going to be happening, I was like having this crisis inside, like, oh my God, everything I thought was right. Am I insane? Like am I insane? And I was thinking I was insane because I was following God. And I was literally thinking, am I in a cult right now? That's what I was thinking. And it's embarrassing to admit that I actually thought that. But at the moment, I was so torn between belief and following Yahweh and knowing what he wanted from me and what I needed to do and what I had to do, what he was calling me to do. And then this other side that I had tucked away forever of, see, I told you so. See, this is wrong. You're not doing the right thing. You're crazy. People are going to think you're insane, It felt like a war inside my head. I actually felt like I was going crazy because I was so conflicted. It felt like two actual voices in my head fighting. I didn't know what to do. It left me questioning everything that I thought I believed in. And I felt like I couldn't speak to Yahweh because I felt, I trust you. I trust you only, no one else. But I knew that these other thoughts were wrong. And I knew the time had come where I had to take care of these other thoughts and I had to make a choice. Obviously, I chose to rebuke these other thoughts. And it took a few days to actually sort everything out and actually figure out, do I think this? And I realized in the end, no, I don't think that way. I think this way. I know Yahweh's real and I know what he's called me to do. And I know I'm in the right place. And these other things, I don't believe them. I just had to take care of them. And I prayed and prayed that he would help me take care of them and address all of them. And not even like address them, because you know what? He doesn't owe you an answer for everything he wants you to do. You're just supposed to do it. When he tells you to do something, you do it. That's faith. It's not to question every single thing. And there is thinking. It's not like you're just mindlessly doing something. You're actually checking it against the scripture and his word to make sure you're doing the right thing. That's the kind of thinking you need to be doing in the questions. Is this what he wants me to do? Not, well, is this right? Compared to what standards, though? However, what I want to say through this, though, is when doubts arise in your mind, you have to take care of them right there, okay? Don't push them aside. Don't tuck them away or store them away thinking that, you're going to reason everything he's telling you out, because there are things, out of the ordinary things that happen that you will never reason out. And you just have to have faith in him and follow him and listen to his voice and no other voice, because the enemy is going to play tricks with your mind, and you are going to play tricks with your mind if you don't take care of your thoughts and then guard your heart. The disciples, doubts started to rise in their hearts. So it's not out of the ordinary to think that it could happen to you or me again, or, anyone. You can't just say, yeah, I'll believe. Just have faith, okay? Just have faith. Have faith. I don't even know what else to add besides have faith. And guard your mind and guard your heart. If you like this News Bites, like below. If you have any thoughts, or if you'd like me to just go back reading the whole newsletter to you instead of doing like an impromptu talking thing, let me know in the comments, because I read them. I do read them. So subscribe and watch the meeting, Truly Me, right here. Thank you.